Each week we make some space and time to be human and to celebrate our joys and grieve our sorrows together. Should you wish to share a personal joy or sorrow about a person or persons in your life, there's paper to fill out and place in the basket on the way to the chalice. After our ritual, I'll read these personal joys and concerns to the congregation. You may now form two lines, one against the wall, one coming down here, and when you come forward, select a stone or shell from the basket to represent your joys and concerns and gently place them into the chalice of water. We welcome your joys and concerns with our stones and water ritual. Thank you. have some personal joys and concerns to read here from John Brobst. I wish my wonderful wife could be here with us to see how marvelous this church, UCF, has become. Thank you, John. Someone is grateful for rain. That's good. And from Brandon, pray for my friend Barbara, who just passed, is in her long rest until being called in. Sorry. And I have pray for us, Rufino Remenda. Yeah, thank you. And Alan has been on the principal list all year long, man. So, will you hire me when you have a big company? Please. So, thank you. So, by the light of this chalice, let us together take a moment to hold in our hearts all that is known and unknown, who are struggling for the sorrows and concerns shared here. May you feel our sympathy and compassion. Take a moment to open our hearts to joy, ours of that and others, known to us and unknown. We join you in celebration. For all that remains unspoken, both joy and sorrow, may the caring of our community offer you both kindness and hope. May you know love, may you know peace, may you be safe. And now it is time for all ages. Testing, and it's so good that we have some young people with us. So, a lot of us are doing what's called thoughtful gatherings, where we gather in small groups and we discuss things. And we have talked a lot about, the potential of our lives and how to get the most out of them and things like that. And I also had a conversation with my granddaughter yesterday. And she did a 2-day field trip, and she was lamenting the fact that she didn't do the ropes course. She just couldn't, and at the end, she wanted to do it. So this little thing is about kind of saying yes. So I had the chance with my wife to go to New Zealand, and we were going to see a show about the Maori culture. And a person comes out and she says, "Who wants to be king?" And I said, "Yes." And my wife looked at me and said, "You never do anything that spontaneous." But I did. And so I met with this woman. Could I have the first slide? Yes, here we are. So in order to do the ceremony, I was going to greet the warriors with a special Maori greeting whereby we touch foreheads and then touch noses. Don't try this until you get home, please. And that's how you greet. But it was a solemn ceremony. You could not laugh, but it's somewhat laughable. You know what I mean, Leslie, if you think about it. So I was trained to do that, and I did this. And then it was a beautiful show, and we learned a lot about the culture. Our neighbors dancing and singing, and the Maoris have a big. I don't know if you've ever seen any rugby but they do a lot of. Like pumping themselves up with a ha, 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 things like that. So, at the end of the show, next slide, please. There, Penny and Art. And we did not realize what this photograph looked like until we looked at the picture. And the funniest part was that there was all these people taking our picture, and I thought, do they think that I really am the king of this thing? But, so would you please, given the opportunity, say yes to something exciting like that? No vaping, no drugs, no pills. But yes to adventure. Yes to trying something new, okay? And we're going to sing into your classroom. So the same goes for adults, right? Let's be adventuresome out there. So this is the meditation. Oh, this is by Reverend Tandy Rogers. And then I've added some things as well. So, may possibility take root where certainty once stood. May curiosity lead the way. This is a black skimmer from Cora Banks. And this bird has an elongated lower bill and feeds by just skimming across the water. I can't imagine how hard it must be to catch food that way, but they're gorgeous animals. May you loosen your grip, open your hands, and find that something unexpected is already unfolding. And as we are, this is Earth Day celebration as well, I just want you to, go to that beach. Feel the cool sand underneath your feet. Hear the waves as they come and break on the shore. And smell the salt air. Put your finger in the water and taste the salt. Your tears are salty. We'll have 30 seconds of silence, and Megan will bring us out with music. Thank you.
So spring is a time of emerging beauty, and with that in mind, we're going to explore greater possibilities for what we think is beautiful. So today's sermon, which actually Leslie provided this to me, just to be clear about that, but it's called Beauty in the Heart of the Beholder, and it's written by Reverend Brigitte Bechtold, who's a minister in Troy, Michigan. So these are her words. So when my son was 5 years old, we lived just south of Washington, D.C., in a place surrounded by nature. He played in the grass, the bushes, the trees, the marshy areas near the Potomac River. One day he came home with a face that was rather unrecognizable because he had touched poison ivy with his hands. And then he touched his face, which had become quite itchy, and pretty soon his eyes were swollen, almost shut, his cheeks were puffy, and he was a bit bloody where he had scratched himself. Just on a side note, I remember picking our daughter up from camp one time, and I didn't even recognize her. It's just pretty funny. I can relate to this. He was so miserable, even after I patted his face with a cool compress and gave him some medication, And so we decided to cheer him up by taking him to his favorite restaurant, the Dixie Pig on the Richmond Highway close to our home. It is still there. That did indeed cheer him up, especially with the huge ice cream for dessert. All was well until the moment I heard someone at the next table say quite loudly to their companion and pointing at my son, "Have you ever seen such an ugly child?" I was infuriated. Couldn't they see that my kid was a beautiful little boy? What business was it of theirs anyway? I never felt more protective of my child, and I never forgot that sentence. Have you ever seen such an ugly child? Decades later, this episode still grates on me. I ask myself, how do we decide what is beautiful and what is ugly? What is beauty anyway? A mother thinks their own child is beautiful, and there are quite a few things I find beautiful that others do not. Upstairs in my house, in a bedroom used by grandchildren, there is a space on the wall where their heights are recorded. When they visit in the summer, one of the first things they do is to go up there and have their height marked on the wall under their name. How many of you had that at your house? My mother had one of those walls with the pencil. Yeah. All those little lines arranged in columns are a beautiful thing to me. I wouldn't dream of ever repainting that wall. It's a record of life. I told my son about this practice last summer when he too came to visit. This is the same son who had that poison ivy mishap. Now he too wanted to have his height recorded. So his daughters stood on the chair, one holding the ruler and the other marking the height. Now the wall is even more precious. It is beautiful. So beauty seems to be a concept that has many dimensions. I decided to learn more about beauty in relation to cultural values. And in the process, I read about the multiple meanings of beauty in different cultures. One author kept noticing that he found the strangest things, quote, beautiful, like a wall with peeling paint. And because of my own practice as a Zen Buddhist, I had learned a bit about Japanese concepts of beauty, and this became helpful in my query. One concept relates to a simple, restrained elegance that is free of clutter. Another captures something that is mysterious. And then there is the notion of something being beautiful because it is wabi-sabi. Wabi means poverty in the sense of something that is lacking or stripped away, and sabi means loneliness or being alone. Together they indicate something imperfect, lonely, weathered, tarnished, maybe cracked. Its exquisite beauty is in the imperfection. In a Japanese tea ceremony, for example, the most prized teacups are those that are old, with cracked glaze, and that have an imperfectly executed design, obviously made by hand and unique. The most honored guest receives tea in the most imperfect cup, and with the imperfection turned so that it faces that person. Like a human being who has wrinkled skin or walks with a limp, the imperfect teacup shows real life, well-lived and well-used. My little boy, who was so imperfect for a while, was wabi-sabi. Imperfections are part of life. That scar we got during a childhood adventure, probably one that took us to places our parents explicitly told us not to go. I have one of those. The old, often mended wool sweater, I have one of those too. The creases around the eyes of our beloved, the face of a child who had a poison ivy encounter. Yes, something ugly can be beautiful. I saw that there is a website with the name reclaimugly.org. It describes its mission like this: join Reclaim Ugly to rewrite and decolonize your understanding of beauty from white supremacy, the patriarchy, trans misogyny, fat phobia, ableism, and other systems of oppression. I actually went on that website, by the way, this morning, just curious, and it actually looks like there's some pretty interesting programs to explore and all, so it's just something pretty good. This mission fits perfectly in our Unitarian Universalist journey to create the beloved community where all are welcome. At this point of my thinking and reading, I thought that I had pretty much figured it all out, but not quite. I needed to read a poem by Sappho to really get it. The Greek poet Sappho, who was born in the 7th century BCE on the Greek island of Lesbos, captured two essential points about beauty in a short poem, which we know only as, quote, poem 16, unquote. The first relates to the fact that Sappho lived in a highly militarized culture. And so, not surprisingly, this poem explores beauty in reference to the military, because that's the kind of society she lived in. But Sappho's second point is the crucial one. Listen for it at the end of poem 16, which goes like this. Some say an army of horsemen, some of foot soldiers, some of ships, is the fairest thing on this black earth. But I say it is what one loves. Sappho hit the nail on the head. What we love is beautiful. As a mother, when my son was little, of course I thought he was beautiful. Being defaced by poison ivy made no difference to that. Beauty is what we pour our love into. Beauty is what we nurture. So how can we get more beauty in our life, nurture people, things, places, books, music, trees, and so on? What we love, what we nurture is beauty. Beauty is not in the eye of the beholder, as the saying goes. Beauty is in the heart of the beholder. So that was the sermon. And, I wanted to think about it a little bit. It definitely gave me some food for thought and about what is beauty. So I wanted to share a little personal reflection to add on to this sermon. First of all, I'd like to ask all of you, how many of you think snakes are beautiful? Pretty good number, actually. I'm sort of pleasantly surprised. Because in our culture, I think snakes do get a bad rap. I mean, honestly, let's think about it. Even the Bible, I think, makes them seem evil. So, there's a lot of people that are very repulsed or creeped out by snakes and definitely frightened of snakes. So that's understandable. So I was always pretty scared of them and, never thought of them as beautiful either. But my husband, Dave, and my son, Sam, they just love snakes and all kinds of reptiles. So that's what I've lived with for many years now. And as a little boy, and even now as an adult, our son Sam goes out snake hunting. Even now. I mean, he started this at a very young age, and he's 33 now, still out snake hunting. And he sends us pictures of snakes he's found. So we have this family group text. So we'll get pictures from Sam out showing us snakes and other critters. Then we'll get our daughter sending her little baby. So it's quite an interesting family text. And we all try to be supportive, even when Sam puts a snake or a lizard, my daughter will put a little heart there too. So we have to, we have to be supportive of each other. But when he was about 10, we lived near my parents, and he wanted to take a snake over to show my mom, his grandmother. And I'm like, okay. So we get in the car with the snake, go over to my mom's house, to my parents' house, and actually, I think my mom just got even though she was deathly afraid of snakes, had never thought about liking snakes, but because of Sam's enthusiasm and how he was so delighted about it, she just, was touched by that. So she touched the snake. She said, "Oh, Sam, that snake is very pretty." So that was a very moving thing. So basically, it's not just what we love, I think sometimes, it's what the people we love. So that's what I started thinking, that, that often we see beauty through other people's eyes, and particularly people that we love, of course. So I don't really plan on going snake hunting, but I do appreciate snakes now and know how important they are to nature. So let's face it, we are surrounded by beauty every day here where we live. I mean, it's incredible what the beauty that we're surrounded by. But there are many facets to beauty, and keeping an open heart and mind and being observant of our surroundings and the people around us, and, this is beautiful seeing all you out here. That's beauty for sure. So let's just keep all that in mind, and thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Harriet. We'll now do our offering. This month for our offering, we'll be sharing the plate with ULACON, Union of Latinos in Eastern North Carolina. ULACON provides mental health support, education, interpretation, advocacy, English classes, legal assistance, and much more. Please give generously for this community that has experienced such oppression from our current administration. May your generosity bring them joy and solidarity. I invite the greeters up. We need 3 of them for the plates. Please join in blessing this offering with hymn 402, From You I Receive. We'll sing it through twice. Now please rise in body or spirit and to join in singing hymn number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth.
Over and
So please join in reading our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now in Espanol, extinguish el color de comunidad, el fuego de nuestra el corazón, hasta que es. And I guess we'll do this. It is our tradition that we join hands and form anything close to a circle. However, if you prefer not, or if moving is not what you need, you can please remain in the center. Thank you for coming out on such a rainy day. It was wonderful to see everyone, and go in peace. Amen.